What's the feeling like? You were just obviously coaching. Now you're here.
Yeah, I have no idea what the feeling is like. I really don't. And I think most coaches, we don't do this for this, and throughout my career as a player and a coach, it was always the next day or chasing something else. When you, I guess, get this, there's nothing else to chase. But I'm still trying to process how that is supposed to feel because I've never not chased something. So,
You think it's going to hit you even harder tomorrow?
yeah, I mean, it will in the fact that my family is going to be there and just all the coaches. I mean, I've had so many coaches who have worked with me who are either going to be here or who have called. And I think what I've realized is none of this is really about me at the end of the day. It is because of the numbers and the success, but none of that is done without all these people who help me. And it's funny when you get the call, your first thought is how excited you're going to be, and then you realize, well, you're excited, but it's more that everybody else helped you. I guess is the way I would put it.
Ray, Kevin, Paul introducing you. I
Yeah.
mean, the journey it's been for them and for you through the years. Like, could you have imagined that 10 years ago, them all coming together and just having this moment?
Well, it was a goal. I can tell you that. I'm a big believer, and I'm going to say this in my speech, but I think when you win it, you do kind of have like a blood transfusion. You should be together for life, and those three in particular have had their ups and downs. And the fact that they all three agreed to be together on the stage and have kind of dropped the BS is the way I would like to put it, is just absolutely amazing. Maybe my last good coaching feat, getting them together. But it wasn't hard. That's what was so shocking. It wasn't hard. All three of them immediately. I called separately, and they all were quick to be at it. So yeah, it's cool.
Doc, you've seen the WNBA grow in your time as a player,
Yeah.
as a coach, and you're coming in with some really good players on that side.
Yeah.
What have you seen from the outside, so to speak?
I love it. I love all the stuff. With the WNBA, I love all the energy, the competitiveness. I will say I laugh at the, men have been fighting and arguing for years, and that's guys being competitive, and now the women are doing it, and there's some kind of negative energy towards it, and I don't understand that at all. But from a competitor, I just love it. I want more of it, and more of it. I think it's good for the league. And this year is going to be an incredible playoffs. You can see it coming. My daughter, who thinks she's an expert in WNBA because I don't know why, but she just thinks she knows more than me and Austin and Seth and everybody else in the family. We're not sure how she thinks that, but she does. We had a crazy argument about who was going to win, and I'm not going to give you my team, but I have a team. Yeah.
Who was her team?
I'm not. Oh, yeah. No, the team that keeps winning, the Aces. So, yeah.
How do you kind of get to actually appreciate turning it off? You've been go 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 go.
I don't know how. I really don't. I've been talking. I talked to a lot of some of the players who are still playing in the NBA. One of them who coached in Philly, was laughing like, "How do you don't know how to relax? I've never seen you relax." And so I'm doing it, man. I'm trying. I'm doing my best at it. Been golfing a lot. I was bad when I started. I'm worse. So I don't know. I'm just really trying to appreciate how long I've been in this league, the success I had in this league, and that's it. It's just not normal, though, to appreciate anything when you're a coach. You just don't.
the connection you feel to Boston, the Celtics organization, part of your journey?
It's everything, I wouldn't be here without Boston, without coming to Boston, without Danny Ainge and that believing in my coaching from the start. There's no way I would be here. Kevin and Paul and Ray and all those guys. I mean, listen, you see all these great teams being put together, and most people don't win with them. And you need guys to buy in. And I had the greatest group, those three guys in particular, because they were the big three. But they bought into me, and I really believe that's why we had such quick success. I mean, when that all got together, people said we're gonna have to wait a year, and then you'll have a chance, and none of them believed that. Neither did I. So all three of those guys. Kevin is, every coach should have a chance to coach a Garnett once in their lifetime. Because just the way he goes about his business really helps you as a coach.
You mentioned how hard that is to come together. Obviously, Philadelphia is going to be trying that now with Joel and LeBron and Jay. How do you picture that playing out? What do you make of some of those moves they made this offseason?
Well, I know some of the guys pretty closely, so you just don't know. I think it will. I think, the one thing if I've learned anything about winning is that if your whole group is not ready to win, I mean, every single guy, you're not winning. It's just not going to happen. You saw it this year with the Knicks, game 2 or 3, and all of a sudden in the Atlanta series, they changed. They start giving themselves up. Scoring wasn't an issue of who had the ball, and all that stuff has to come together. Winning's hard. So there's a lot of teams on paper, but that's going to be the key for them. I think Nick's great at doing that. He did that in Toronto. But every group's different, and you just don't know.
What did you make of that trade from just the Celtics perspective? You obviously spent time with Paul, coaching Paul George, and the Jaylen trade has been pretty divisive around Boston. What did you kind of view how that's going to work out?
Yeah, I was surprised like everybody else, being honest. And I was surprised they did it with Philly, and I'm joking, but the first thing when I heard that trade, I thought of Tommy Heinsohn. When I was coaching the Celtics, I remember losing, we lost one game to the Sixers. I don't know, it was the first time we played them. And I always sat by Tommy on the plane. And he looked at me and he said, "Don't ever lose to the Sixers." And I'm thinking this trade would have drove him crazy. Having said that, there's a lot of reasons why trade happens. And I think in Boston's view, they have a plan, and we'll see it play out.
They were obviously in on the Giannis trade too, and he ends up in Miami. What do you think of how that all played out over the summer, having coached Giannis?
Yeah, I thought it played out great, honestly. I thought it didn't play out great all year, But I thought once the season was over, it was pretty clear. I thought John did a great job. He made it known we're moving him. Giannis finally said, "I want to go." And then I thought after that, they just had to make the right deal. And I thought they did. I think they made an incredible deal. And in Miami's, they got a piece. They got a 1%er next to Bam. And, they have to build out from there. But they have a chance as well.
What do you think it takes to just be great at anything?
Toughness, perseverance. You have to be, I tell my players all the time, you have to be willing to go through stuff to get stuff. And if you're not willing to go through that journey, you're just not going to be successful. My dad had this saying, I've said it to you guys a million times, there's no victims in the Rivers family. He always said that no matter how good or bad things were, he was not going to have it. Move on, keep moving. And I think that's the way I lived my life, at least, and I think that's the way you can become successful.
Coach, there have been moments where that message felt you had to really believe in that message?
Oh, yeah, many moments. Early in my coaching career, we had some tough teams in Orlando, man, and just winning a game was questionable, early on. Literally, Sports Illustrated had the ranking of the 300 top players We didn't have one. Think about that. We didn't have one. And yet that team succeeded. But early on, it was rough, man. So, yeah, there's been many times you just got to keep believing.
Coach, we've seen so many teams try to imitate the success of the 08 Celtics. You mentioned being ready to win and adapting during the season.
Yeah.
How was that team ready to win, and how did they adapt?
Well, I think I'm saying this, I think coaches are always ready because that's all you do. But you got to have the right group. Kevin, Paul, and Ray were the veterans, adding P.J. Brown in that group. They wanted to win. They all were ready. They were done with all the individual stuff. Like, they couldn't achieve anything more individually. But none of them had had team success. And you felt that with that group. And they were willing to do anything you said. And they did that for me. And so when you get a team that buys into you first, the coach, and to the staff, and what we're trying to do and how we have to do it, then you're on your way.
Talk a little bit about that sales pitch to the players.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got to do as a coach?
Well, when I talk to businesses, I always say the same thing. That's not a one-day pitch. That's an everyday thing. We rented the tugboat the one day and went on the parade route, before the season started. We went to Rome. We came up with the Ubuntu word. Every day was a reminder of what we were trying to do and what they wanted to do and what they, kind of confessed that they wanted to do. You had to remind them at times, oh, wait a minute, shots don't matter. Think about it. Ray, Paul, Kevin each averaged 20 shots a night. Now, with our team, that wasn't possible. And so they had to give up something, and they all were willing to do that.
Did you feel like in Philly or in Milwaukee, did you not
Milwaukee's
get that?
was tougher. That was late in all them career. We're still trying to build. I would say, for the rest of your coaching career, you're searching to try to get that 100% buy-in. It's tough because sometimes you have young guys who are still trying to make their careers. You know what I'm saying? And so then you have veterans who want to win. The mix of guys, you have to have to win. That's why when people say, well, they have to win, it's like you guys have no respect for winning. Like, winning is brutally hard. Everything has to fit at the right time. And everybody has to fit at the right time.
Was it not just the right time in Philly?
Yeah, I think, obviously not. Like, the answers are easy. If you don't win it, the answer is no. Not really. And I believe that. Like, I thought the Clippers, we had a shot, especially in the first year, and then that kind of faded away at each year. You chase it, and then it fades away. In Philly, think about it. The first year I got there, the year before, they got swept in the first round. We won the East in the regular season, and we're still making moves. I would argue with some of those moves, but there's nothing you can do about it as a coach. You just do it. But I just thought the one thing we did, we went from a team losing in the first round to being a game away twice to get to the Eastern Finals. I always laughed that was not my goal. My goal wasn't to get to the Eastern Finals. My goal was always to every team, whatever team you're on, you want to get to the finals. And we just didn't do that.
Coach, what this game has given to you?
Oh, it's given me everything. I grew up in Chicago. My dad was a cop. I didn't have a lot, So everything that I've, have gotten financially, family, educationally, travel experiences. George Raveling had that great saying, and when I was the player of the year in Chicago, and Coach George Raveling was the highlighted speaker for the banquet. That was back in the days of banquets. I don't know what they call them now, but he got up and says, use the basketball and don't let the basketball use you. And it was such a profound statement for me, even as a senior in high school. I think I took that to, and used it for the rest of my life.
And what have you given back to the game since it's given you so much? What have you given back?
My life, my voice, for sure. My time, my love, and you sacrifice a lot of stuff. I missed a lot of family stuff. I don't think people understand how much family time you miss. I was flying around. The greatest part about the Celtic job, part of it was if my kids played, they had the supply of plane. I coached the game in Portland, flew to Orlando, coached in LA, flew back to Orlando, and then coached in Utah in between each night. They put up with that. But that allowed me to see my kids, my daughter. I got to watch her win state. Austin, watch him win state. Spencer, watch him win state. Jeremiah, watch him play for the state championship. I didn't miss those games, but I missed a lot of other games. That was tough.
Coach, like you said, you missed a lot of family time. You give the game everything. Now you ultimately are achieving the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
What's next?
Nothing. No, I'm serious. I'm going to do some stuff, but I'm trying to learn how to not do a lot. And that's, my kids have a running, they have a wager on how long that's going to be. And I'm going to try to, whatever the wager of who says the longest, I'm going to try to do that.
Coach, when it comes to your legacy
Yeah.
as a player, as a broadcaster, as a coach,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want people to think of when they hear the name Doc Rivers now that this journey has culminated in Springfield?
I don't know. That's for you guys. I just loved it. I never, even in the bad times, I loved the grind of trying to get out of it. In the good times, I was probably way more uncomfortable with the good times, which is nuts when you think about it. Tom Thibodeau and I were talking. We went to dinner. And I swear to God, we spent the whole dinner talking about 2010. And I looked at him and said, can we talk about 2008 for 1 minute? I mean, all we talked about was the bad stuff, It was so strange, but that's what coaches do. I will say that. It's funny, as a player, you don't take a lot of accountability. You just look at the good stuff. But then when you become a coach, you only think about the bad stuff, which is the strangest damn thing. Pat Riley told me years ago, and I did not. This is one of the few things that said you got to learn how to enjoy the highs. In his opinion, he thought I wasn't doing that well enough, and so he was probably right.
You've been a part of the Celtics-Sixers rivalry on both sides. Just what makes that rivalry so special? What makes a rivalry of the Celtics-Sixers so special?
I don't know, because I think what makes it special is Chicago. What makes it special is they've had a lot of grueling matches against each other. Dr. J choking Larry Bird makes it a special rivalry. Sedell 3 punching Danny Ainge. I remember all these things. That stuff never goes away. It only grows and gets bigger. So now, is opening night Philly, Boston?
Philly, New York.
Philly, New York. So Christmas is.
Christmas is LA.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to be a fun game to watch.
I have a question, Coach. What do you think makes Illinois and Chicago hoops some of the best players to come out of there, be successful in the NBA and the WNBA?
The playground. You know the answer, and you could have said the best. You didn't have to say some of the best. You know where the best players come from.
Did you cross paths with Nelly in Milwaukee when you were at school?
I was at school. I can say it now. It's probably the most illegal thing that Nelly ever did. But I practiced with the Bucks when I was at Marquette. Yeah, which today I think teams would be. Yeah, they didn't have usually but 8 or 9 players. They played in the old gym a lot, or at Cardinal Stretch, if you remember.
Okay, sure.
And Dave Wool was an assistant for Nelly, and Dave would pick me up, and I would either go to Cardinal and practice or at the old gym. I literally practiced with the Bucks freshman and sophomore year. It wasn't a little bit, a lot.
Was there anybody who gave you the business, or did you try to get somebody the business?
Well, it's funny. Moncrief was just, I always tell people, Moncrief made me think, man, I don't know if this NBA life is going to be made by me, because Moncrief still doesn't get his due, in my opinion, but playing against him and Marcus and Junior Bridgman, Winters. I mean, I played against all of them. I was more athletic than some of them. That made me feel good. But Quinn Buckner, all those guys, it was awesome for me.
Any particular thought on Nelly?
Yeah, he was an innovator. I think what I loved about Nelly, he was as comfortable in his own skin as anyone I ever met. It's funny. One of his best friends was very similar to Rick Majerus. Those two together, they didn't care what you thought about them. They just did their jobs.
Coach, what's the toughest task for you? Being your kid's dad or being a basketball coach?
Being a kid dad or being a basketball coach?
Being your kids.
I wasn't a kid dad. Like a coach's dad. Like I just went to the games. I rarely coach my kids. I will say that. I've always thought parents need to get out of that business. They need to let someone else coach. I remember Coach K, Austin's freshman year, called me to tell me what he was doing, and I was like, I don't need this call. Like, you're the coach, I'm the father, we are good. And he said, no, I'm just letting you know. I said, I'm good. Like, and I really believe that with his high school coaches. All of my kids, I stayed out. I really believe that's why my daughter played volleyball, because she knew I didn't know crap about it. So there was not going to be a lot of calls. So I would say coaching was harder in that regard. I stayed out of the family coaching business. That's too hard. Until I coached my son in the NBA. Then things change.
You're part of this class with Mark Fee. What's your perspective on everything he's built the last 3 decades?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's an innovator to me because he did it in a place like, with us growing up, you had to be at UCLA, you had to be at these certain locations to build a winner one time. He keeps doing it over and over and over and over again. Every year, he has a chance to win the national title. And it goes back to what I was saying, like, people think winning it is easy, and it's not. Everything has to go right, and it has to go right for him one day, but that doesn't diminish anything he's done. He's changed college sports in a lot of ways because he proved that small marketplaces, schools, can be successful continually, and he's done it.
Now that you're in the hall, who do you think should be in that's not? Anyone come to mind?
That's a good Marcus Johnson would be one for me. Rondo's going to be in, but Rondo comes to mind right away. I'm assuming Rondo's going to be in. I'm saying that without.
He's got to coach first, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's going to be in as a player. Yeah. But the reason Rondo's not even, because every 2 years he goes back and plays a month, and they have to start the process back over again. I honestly think coaching-wise, Rick Carlisle should be next. I really, if I could change one thing, and it's not, I always remember, like, I felt like George Karl should have been in 5 years before he was in, and it bothered me. I don't know why it bothered me, because, college coaches can go in the middle of their career, and I just felt like it had been great for George, to be called George Karl Hall of Fame coach. That would have helped his resume, and stay in longer and do things like that. And, I just wish we did that more, where coaches, Steve Kerr should be in the Hall of Fame. And so why isn't he? And there's no actual reason for that. And so I wish we would change that.
Doc, you mentioned Marcus Johnson. He's our first John Wooden Award winner in 1977.
Yeah.
What do you remember about his game, playing against him?
For me, I remember it being unguardable. I remember that, and it's funny, it's coming from another Hall of Famer, and Dominique. I remember when we were going to play Milwaukee, I was going to hear the word switch more than normal. Because whenever there was a play with Marcus, Dominique wanted to switch, so somebody else had to guard Marcus. Marcus in the open court and Bernard King were two of the toughest guys in the open court to ever play.
Doc, when you think about sort of Proviso Beast days, is there some Chicago area legends that help lead this foundation?
Yeah, I went to a high school that has 12 NBA players, none recruited. There's only, we looked it up the other day, there's only one other high school in the history that has this exact same amount. Not the high schools that recruit. Like Proviso East, you live in Maywood, or you don't play at Proviso East. And we have 12 NBA players. But Jim Brewer would be number one for me. That's my uncle. And, he was the first. And when you have a guy right in front of you that is at your house every day, I remember the 72 Olympics, and you go through that whole thing with him. This is why people from your neighborhood make it possible, because you actually see it. I didn't see a hedge fund guy in my neighborhood. I saw Jim Brewer as a basketball player in my neighborhood, and so that's what I wanted to be. And that's probably why I'm here.
Throughout your coaching years, can you think of a moment that you really that stands out in terms of like galvanizing your team, maybe a player specific? Anything stand out?
God, I can't. There's a lot of little moments. Even the first year with that hard hustle team in Orlando, there's so many moments where you thought that team could let go of the rope because, and they just didn't. That was like the little engine that could. With the Celtics, I always thought about Rome, just that group. I really believe, like, going to training camp out of the country and forcing us to be together really kind of short-cut the learning curve for us. And those bus rides, which you guys would probably remember, were long back and forth to the hotel, and their cell phones didn't work, which I thought was great because they actually had to talk to each other. Maybe we're on to something there. I thought that was great.
Last question. In terms of Mbutu, and you had
Mbutu, yeah.
Big Baby do that whole demonstration and everything.
Yeah, Big Baby, Leon Poe, and Tony Allen, I think, might have been the three. The Mbutu thing, it's amazing every year, because I played for Pat Riley, and every year he had a theme. I don't know where he got them from, but he would always come up with something, and so I did that. I didn't have anything a month out, and I was at a Marquette board meeting. I was a trustee of Marquette, and one of the board members had just came back from South Africa and asked me had I ever heard of the word, and I said no. She wrote it on a piece of paper, handed it to me, and said, talk to me about this word tomorrow. And the second day of the board meeting, I'd been up all night. That word was it was the perfect word. It's actually the perfect word for every team. And every team should use it.
Thanks, guys.